Welcome.
Hello and welcome to OzLoL Podcast episode 71. I am Colossus, even when my microphone isn't turned on when the stream starts. Stupid technology. This week we've got a lot to talk about. We're talking about the Challenger series, and we're talking about patch 5.1. And to help you with that, I have Stephen Gasto.
Hello.
And Jack, the voice of Victor Bradley.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jack, the voice of Victor Bradley, but I prefer it if everyone just kept calling me Victor, if that's all right.
All right, fine. All right. Well, we are live. Well, we're supposed to be live around about 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Saving Time. We're a bit late. That was my bad.
25 minutes ago.
Yes, there's just been so much to watch in the VODs. Oh my god, both Steve and I have been like the very last minute watching VODs of something because there's just so much going on. But we're on Mondays on twitch.tv/TForce Podcast. If you go to our website, you can find the link to that, as well as the link to our VODs for both OzLoL Podcast and the Oceanic Battle Arena, which is Thursdays from 7 p.m. as well, Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. We also have on our website all our previous episodes, so you should go and check that out. And that's probably about it for show news. I don't think there's anything else worth saying.
Just bad news.
If there is, it can wait. There's no rush. Alright, well, let's get into some news in the Oceanic scene. So this weekend, we've had the next stage of the Challenger series, of which the top 4 teams move on into the Oceanic Premier League. And, of course, spoiler alert, and some sadness alert, because Steve's got some bad things happen for Steve. So in the lower bracket, so it's a double elimination tournament. So the lower bracket, you had Climax Crew beat Symphony 2-0. You had Villains beat Endzone 2-0. And then in the upper bracket, the winners bracket, Rich Gang beat Sudden Fear 2-0, and unfortunately, For Not beat Immunity 2-0.
Oh, fuck, did that happen?
Well, I guess that's what we're here to talk about. So let's, Steve, did you actually want to, since you're the closest to all of this, did you want to say anything on the outset?
Really don't.
Okay.
There's about a million
Let's
things
say
that I...
fast.
Oh
Let's say
my
it
goodness. No, it was the main event of the entire night, and it's a much bigger night than our Oceanic timetable would allure to because of the LPL stuff, which we'll get into. But basically, the game didn't start. I'm trying to figure out my time zones. But
It was like 11 p.m. or something stupid.
10:30 around there, 10:45 before the immunity game actually started.
And that was game 1 as well. Like that was not
Game
that was
one.
Yeah, it didn't start. So they're talking like playing very, very late.
Yeah, it was a very, very long day for everyone involved in the stream, as well
Yep.
as people who had to watch additional streams before the games began yesterday.
Yeah.
Pretty full-on day. And everything just went horribly, horribly wrong. Our picks and ban phases has never been worse. There was... What can I say? The team prepared and practiced and game theoried and sorted out picks and bans, and then went into the game and forgot everything, and just it all fell apart in the worst possible way. Like we had, hang on, I posted the numbers in your Skype, so where we had over 10,560 people watching at one point. Maybe even more when I wasn't paying attention, and that many people tuned in for the Immunity versus Fortnite game, and many people out of that 10,000 plus were very disappointed with the performance.
Yeah, but I might interrupt at this point just to say that I didn't think it was a shocking performance. I mean, obviously you are personally upset because it's your team and you've prepared and all of that. I think that, yes, Immunity were outplayed. I think genuinely Fortnite played better, but not substantially better. I think there were definitely times where Immunity could have turned it around. I mean, one of the game one. So game one was pretty close up until the point where Claire, who was on Fizz, Claire being mid laner of Immunity, they were sieging mid, and Claire sort of came around through the jungle, sort of from the dragon side. They would have been red side, I think. So come around red side, coming up towards his tower from the dragon side, and he just got, and it was actually, I mean, this was a misplay on his part, but he got condemned by Fornot, by the Vayne on the other team, and then he got dogpiled, and then he basically just, that was it, and they took about 2 towers. They might have even been able to take 3 towers. They just completely rolled him at that point, and that was the turning point. So I mean,
it might be that I'm over personally invested in everything, but after watching the guys scrim constantly for weeks and weeks, after going through picks and bans with them for weeks and weeks and weeks, I think we played one scrim worse than the games that we played in that entire time, and I don't think we ever drafted worse. So
yeah, I mean, yeah,
and
yeah,
like our warding was not up to par with games that we've had in the past. Like, warding wasn't the reason. There was just a million little things that all went horribly wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't say horribly wrong, but I think they definitely did get it wrong, and it was a number of things.
In the second game, we lost every lane.
Yep.
Like, the Immunity was a front runner for being the best in the country. Now, we didn't make top 4, and now we haven't made top 8 unless we have to go through another tournament, fight another team. We've got to fight Villains again this week to see if we get into the top 8, and then we have to beat everyone there to kind of redeem ourselves for this weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely not an inspiring performance. Like, this time last year, they were Dignitas, they were one of the top contenders, definitely top 4, as you said, and now they're struggling to get through this tournament, and they kind of struggled through. Well, I mean, really, it's like they did last year, like with going into spring last year. Like they kind of struggled, and then they got beaten by Direwolves, and it was kind of over. So yeah, it was.
We've had this conversation before, Carrot, with you on the other side of it. Is that we have some of the most experience, some of the best team coordination.
Absolutely.
We're veterans. We've got the best, kind of game knowledge and everything. Like, we've got so many things going for us, and absolutely none of them were demonstrated yesterday.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's... Yeah, I can't disagree with it. I think it's disappointing. It is really disappointing. But, I mean, also credit should be given to Fortnite, because they definitely did deliver. They definitely did come to play, and they, I think they kind of showed some of the form which I was hoping to see out of the Challenger series, of actually superior gameplay, not just really good sort of solo queue teams. And it's still even amongst, like, what we saw with Endzone versus Villains, which was the game before, and one of the reasons why the Immunity game started so late, was essentially you had LPL. So 2 matches of LPL, which were best of 2, I think. Then you had the first game, best of 3, Villains versus Endzone. Villains was pretty good in the early, did really well in the early game, got a lead. Mid game came around, and we were kind of like, I really don't know what they kind of were doing. They're just sort of waiting for something to happen. And they basically, so they got to the point where I think they got all the outer towers, but they just couldn't break through end zones. I think they had Sivir was the marksman pick. They just couldn't overcome a wave clear, and so they kind of just wandered around. They didn't make any. I mean, they eventually got to Baron and tried to bait on Baron. They, they kept taking dragons to their credit, but they just kind of, they didn't really know what to do with this lead they had. They didn't know how to press the advantage, and I guess that was, I mean, there's been a lot of that this tournament, of that the solo queue team kind of approach, which is really, it's not great.
Well, there is one team that know how to push an advantage and know exactly what to do with the situation they're in, and that is Rich Gang.
Yep.
Rich Gang showed up huge, and they seem to be, at least in the Challenger tournament, the only team that seemed to understand how damage against towers works now, and how damage from towers works, because there was a moment in that game where they just took 3 towers. No, like they had minions for one of them, and the
Yeah.
rest they just tanked up with their HP bars, and they came out of it perfectly fine, like 1,000 gold up from where they were a few minutes before.
Yeah.
And that is really because we didn't get to see we didn't get to see any of the games that they were in before the streamed games that we've had over the last 2 weeks, but I can definitely put down the success to their ability to judge and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Evaluate how far they can push after they get 1 kill or 2 kills, or how long they've got on a death timer or positioning. Like they were amazing at that.
Sorry. Yes, Steve?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were about to make another point.
No, that was
yeah, okay.
that was a dramatic pause for someone
Dramatic
else to
pause.
continue.
I mean, I thought they were good. I gotta say, I didn't catch their second game versus Sudden Fear. I didn't think they didn't look like they were completely dominant. Like when you looked at the points that they had through the open ladder, you know, they had almost double the points of the next team. But they didn't they kind of looked like that last week. But this week, Sudden Fear actually kind of held them pretty even for most of the game. Like I think that they eventually overcame that and got a big lead. But yeah, Sudden Fear actually kind of pushed them, and they didn't look as completely dominant as I thought they would. Which might just be that's how it was that night. Might be, you know.
Well, Rich Gang's mechanics didn't blow me away, but their map sort of manipulation was really like their mastery of evaluating exactly what they could do in particular situations was really where their strengths lie.
And yeah, I mean, I guess that was, and with Fortnite as well. I mean, that was where I think they really pushed immunity. Was they actually seized the initiative. Like I don't think that even when immunity was kind of holding pretty equal with Fortnite, I think they were still on the back foot. And that, I mean, that's really a key thing. That's a key thing through every level of play. Like the team that can hold the initiative, the team that can get the other team on the back foot, they're the ones who tend to end up winning. Except for the old Scar, I think of, you know, they're winning up until the point they lost. But generally speaking, you know, teams win by taking the initiative and taking, you know, being the first in those rotations and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I still think they're gonna all of these teams are gonna struggle against better teams. But I guess we'll find out. Well, now, I mean, Rich Gang and Fortnite are both qualified. I guess next week we were going to have... So you're playing Villains. Sudden Fear will be playing Climax Crew. So, yeah, this weekend is going to be the last of the Challenger Series. Then I guess we'll be quite soon seeing the actual Premier League. 7 weeks.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it'll be good. Well, actually, we should really get Benji in, see if we can get him for maybe next week when it's all said and done. If he's, we'll see if he's available. But let's do it quickly.
Now's totally the time to talk about that.
Yeah. Actually, first I want to mention the return of Papa Smithy. So, if you don't know who Papa Smithy is, and this is something I'm really excited about. So, all the way back, come back in time to season 3. Midway through season 3, Oceanic servers were announced. Basically, they had the big event, you know, had all the open ladder with the 800 million teams. Then they actually finally whittled them down to have the top few teams playing at PAX, and the casters were Papa Smithy and Pastry Time. And I mean, those guys have been around for a long time. Like season 2, they've been casting from at the earliest. And I know that Papa Smithy was a player before that, so he was. I think he actually played for. Might have been Avant as a jungler. But yeah, Pastry Time and Papa Smithy casted the LPL going back into season... It would have been season 2, I think, because... as well as a bit of Korean stuff. So that basically, Papa Smithy is like one of the best analysts out there. Like, he's certainly, I think, no offense against Spawn, I think he's like the best analyst, mainly due to experience in Oceania. So shout out to him. Really excited that he's back. But let's go to the LPL Oceanic controversy. Um,
Oh man, the chat's going off about this. Cyanide going ham. I've been watching this conversation go down. He's got a lot to say. We should get him on instead of me.
so
Does
if
he have a personality?
yeah,
God, no.
maybe we could get him on.
No, don't be ridiculous.
So the LPL, so the basically this year, if you weren't aware, Riot has essentially consolidated all the streams for all the major tournaments under their banner. So Riot now broadcasts the LCK with the Korean. You've got the LPL. Actually, the only other sort of major-ish one that they're casting I'm aware of is the Taiwanese League, which is they've split Garena from the Southeast Asia, so the Singapore region and the Taiwan region. So I guess we'll find out if they'll cast that. But nevertheless, Korea and LPL and China are being broadcast by Riot, and for some reason Riot decided to not show all the games, which is kind of weird. They decided they were going to show half the games for the LPL and then show Oceania stuff, which I'm in favour of. But you kind of got to wonder, and of course this has made Reddit very upset because they don't think as much of Oceania as we do. They're like, they're pretty mad. So, what are our thoughts? Like, I mean, I kind of sort of think it's probably something they're going to work out in the end, but it's really weird that's happening to begin with.
Well, there's something about Riot Games Oceania that needs to really be kind of put out there at the start, is that if they've got the opportunity to do something, they're going to grab that opportunity and take it. You saw that with Mirko, like when the server, it's like, oh, we could go on, but there's still a lot of stuff to fix. He went, no, I want the server now. Let's go ahead. And I do really get the sense that we had a very similar thing going on here. Like, we can host LPL, we've got the casters, we've got experience, we've got high quality streams, we've got a server in the area for Twitch servers and all that sort of stuff. Everything was right about the idea about LPL coming onto the Riot Games Oceania, having have high level casting. Like they had, I was watching Summoner Insight, and Monte Cristo and Thorin were talking about it, and Monty pointed out that they kind of have a HD stream, and the casters know a little bit more about China because they've been obsessing about it for ages. But he pretty much shares an opinion that I have, is that this will be by far the better option in the long run. Now, if you're Riot Games Oceania, you got to put yourself in their shoes. If you've got the opportunity to take over LPL and to basically host it, it's like, yes, we want to make this the best we possibly can do. We want to expand our audience to international viewers and all that sort of stuff. Like, and we want to get as much League of Legends from this region as possible. Like, that is all absolutely good things. The timing of it obviously was unfortunate. Because at that exact time, on the exact same stream with the exact same casters, we have the Oceanic Challenges. And they're a big deal for the Oceanic region. And Riot Games Oceania cannot prioritize another region's competitive scene for their own. Like, just, can you imagine the backlash from the Oceanic public if they went, we're no longer going to stream these Oceanic Challenger games, or they'll be streamed at a later date because now we have to do LPL. Like, that would not have flown, and they would have gotten a lot of flack from the Oceanic community. And what they've done is they've gone for the absolute maximum amount of games while keeping to their already dedicated promises that they possibly can. Like, there was over 24 hours of streamed footage on the Riot Games Oceania page over the weekend. It was massive. You know, the Riot Games guys were just working their absolute ass off. They were just full pump the entire time. You could tell Pastry Time's voice by the end of even the first day was like, oh, you could feel his pain. These guys worked so hard to do the absolute best they could with the schedule they were given. Now, a couple of games, if you look at this as a historical moment, say we're looking at this moment 4 months in the past, no one's going to be going if only I had those 5.1 matches of the LPL, I could go back and do my analysis. Or, I really wished I saw that, the World Elite versus Blah game from several weeks ago. Like this will be a passing memory in LPL legacy essentially. But if they'd done if they'd gone, we're not going to show in the Oceanic Challenger games, that'd be huge. That'd be like, the Challenger scene doesn't, this stuff doesn't matter. Like the high level stuff from other countries is more important, so we need to prioritize that. And that's really not the message that Riot Games Oceania want to be sending.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to defend them.
Especially not with the name
wholeheartedly.
Riot Games Oceania.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I really got to take my hat off to Riot Games, the Oceanic office, for the decisions that they have made. Like, not streaming some of the LPL games is going to cause a bit of backlash now, and no backlash once they've got the schedule figured out. Now they can do their Oceanic schedule around the LPL schedule. Like, I've heard they're gonna have some delays in the live stream, like the VODs will be up until 48 hours and stuff like that. That is all stuff that can be fixed and will be addressed, because Riot always do this. We got to release a Zero on this particular date, now we'll spend a couple of months fixing it. They're gonna fix it. Like, LPL is gonna be exactly what you wanted, and the Oceanic scene is gonna get the streams that they wanted. This is week 1, day 1 and 2. That is...
Yeah. That is worth keeping in mind. Like, we should never forget that this is all blown up literally over the weekend. Having said that, I mean, you could schedule the Challenger games earlier. I mean, you could have... I think LPL starts about sort of... Like, you could do them in the morning. Like, essentially, you could have the Challenger games before the LPL starts, and then you'd be able to have the LPL. Because although I think Oceania is important, obviously, because we do this podcast, LPL is kind of a bigger deal. Like, there's more people. There's probably more people who play LOL in China than total people in Australia.
And they don't have to go through wild cards to get.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing to me.
Yeah. So I mean, it might be just one of those things that, I mean, from what Monty said on Summoner Insight, because I actually watched the bit where they talked about this. He said that he understands that they just don't have the bandwidth to be able to have multiple streams out of the Riot office, which, as everybody complains in Twitch chat constantly for any Oceanic broadcast, no NBN, blah blah blah, tone please, all that sort of stuff. So Australia does not have the greatest internet. Obviously,
hey, why don't you come to Russia and tell us about your shitty internet, you piece of shit?
It's
and part of
Russia internet lags you.
Yeah. And I guess Riot's approach to talking to the community about developments. I mean, you think about the East Coast servers stuff that's going on in NA. Like, Riot do stuff in the background. They don't tell us about it, and then when they're ready to actually announce this is when it's actually going to happen, they announce it. So currently, I imagine the guys at Riot are just like scrambling to figure out a way to fix this up by, as I think Sino pointed out in the stream, or Badger, you need to have multiple streams. You need to have, a dedicated stream for LPL. You need to have a dedicated stream for OCE. And I guess if you had 3 teams of casters, it's probably, because you have one casting LPL, one casting, one resting, and then one casting OCE, and then you'll always have enough people, And that's probably not out of the realms of possibility of organizing, because I mean but it's just if they don't have the bandwidth, that's obviously a huge problem. But we won't know they've fixed the bandwidth until they fix the bandwidth.
Bandwidth allocation aside, because that's a technical issue. That's not a that's a different issue altogether. Because that's something that can be purchased. That's a budgetary issue as well.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, there's real limitations on if they're not in the right spot in Sydney. I mean, I don't know where their office located. If it's in the CBD, then you'd think they'd be able to get access to more bandwidth. But if they're not in the CBD, because the CBD in Sydney is not going to be cheap to be in. I don't know.
No, but
it's
any gaming company that has a server for gaming and a server for streaming and millions of people connecting every day, they've got about as much bandwidth as the country will allow. But there's always ways of getting more. Maybe not in that same location, but elsewhere.
Yeah.
Hosting the servers in a different spot and streaming them from there's things you can do. I don't really want to talk about the bandwidth.
Well, it's a real issue though.
What I want to talk about is the theater. The basic concept of theater is that the show must go on.
Yeah.
If you find out like curtain night, the curtain goes up and your main lead actress has not shown up for the day, whoever knows the lines has to go on stage and do it, even if the dress doesn't fit and everything. We've got to get out there and get it out.
Put Victor in a skirt again.
Yeah, that's it, Victor. Get out in a skirt and perform.
He'll willingly degrade himself anytime.
Money. Like the metaphor carries on is like they got LPL, like the deal went through. It was going to the Oceania. Oh my god, it's the same weekend as the Oceanic Challengers. And it's the same casters, so they went out and did the absolute best job that they could. Like, I cannot think of any kind of logistical way that they could have utilized their resources better in the time constraints that they had, with the schedule that they had, and come out with a better result than they did.
Well, unless they did this deal like last week, they've had time. Like, I mean, presumably they've had this thing stitched up. They would have been working on this deal for a long time, because I mean, we know, like, from what I understand, Papa Smithy and Pastry Time had to go through, like, it took them forever to organise, to get access to the LPL, even just to cast, like, they casted, like, a VOD, you know, in English. So, I mean, I very much doubt that all of a sudden, you know, right, on a whim, bid for the rights to do this, and then it just has it, and now, oh my gosh, are you surprised? Like, they've had this in the works for a while. They should have been on, like, they should have been on top of this. Like, I mean, I think it'd be better, even just to organise the Challenger Games to be in the morning. Even if it's a weird time for Western Australia, it's better that it's in the morning and you have all of the LPL. Then you have half of the LPL and then all of the Challenger Series. As much as I love Oceanic League of Legends, LPL is more important, and they need to make it happen. And I'm sure they will. It's just it's not a great start, and we won't know till they've fixed it until they've fixed it. So
where's your patriotic heart, Carrot? The Oceanic scene should be the most important one to you, and to the rest of the world, the LPL should be most important to them.
If wishing only made it so. Anyway, we've already talked about that enough. Let's quickly touch on Ocean Week, which has just been announced. I think it was announced today even. So there's essentially a community event happening around Australia, between Australia and Waitangi Day. I think that's how you say Waitangi Day, which is the kind of the equivalent of Australia Day for New Zealand. Essentially, the end goal, what we hope for, is by essentially the right Oceania is going to literally create a reef, an artificial reef, with a statue of League of Legends. So, by playing games with particular champions, so Fizz, Gangplank, Graves, Lee Sin, Leona, Nami, Nautilus, Malphite, Renekton, Tristana, basically we contribute points if you win games. There's the opportunity to have IP boost, to open up some legacy skins, to upgrade mystery gifts, and also then, if we play enough games, enough wins, artificial reef with either Fizz, Nami, or Nautilus statue. And if you contribute points,
create a rift that isn't Nautilus.
Yeah, no.
There's no way it's going to be Nautilus. As much as we want it to be Nautilus,
we should make that a goal. Anyway, if you contribute at least 3 points to get 3 wins with any of those champions, you get your name inscribed on it. Pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Can I just point out that ranked solo and duo and ranked teams, ARAM and co-op versus AI, do not count towards Ocean.
Yeah.
It's blind pick, team builder, twisted tree line. Twisted tree line counts. Ranked doesn't.
Yeah, because they don't want you playing Gangplank in ranked. Apparently, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
I'll play Gangplank.
Actually, that's a good thing, right? Good job.
Yeah.
Don't let Gangplank
Yes,
get
there is a deliberate reason why they don't make it there, because then people are just like, oh, why did you pick that champion? Got to Oshi Week, man. Come on.
So I don't know. It's nothing. It's kind of nifty. Like, I mean, having an artificial reef with a League of Legends statue somewhere, presumably in Sydney, is kind of interesting and cool. So
it's a
at least they get
thing.
at least they get
Put
points.
it in the river somewhere. I thought they were going to put it like in the river of the map somewhere or something. I'm like,
I don't
what does
know.
that mean?
That'd be alright.
I did not know what they meant by that. Okay. Cool.
No, it's actually like I think it's a literal reef. Like they said, they were talking to like a biologist and like all this sort of stuff. Anyway, top points, right, for coming up with something different. But that starts. So when does that start? It starts next week, I think. The votes. Cool. So voting starts tomorrow for the there's other 3-week champions that will go into the mix for the Ocean Champions. And the skin sales start, so they've got a champion and skin sale every day from the 23rd to the 8th of February. And then when does the actual week start? I think it starts next... When is it? Friday the 23rd. So this Friday is when it starts. And it goes... The actual Ocean Week goes till the following Friday.
I do like that the first wave. The first wave of champions has been quick to answer the call of Ocean Week. And will be on free rotation for the challenge phase. This will replace the normal 3-week rotation. So we've got Fizz, Gangplank, Graves, Lee Sin, Leona, Nami, Nautilus, Malphite, Renekton, and Tristana are all free to play during Ocean Week. And then the second week, Gragas, Kassadin, Kog'Maw, Rengar, Singed, Syndra, Thresh, and Ziggs.
I honestly don't know why Rengar's in that list. Like, he's the only one I can see that doesn't have a sea themed. Oh no, of course, because he does the haka. That's why he's in there.
Oh, there you go.
He does the haka with his dance.
Totally New Zealand.
That's totally New Zealand, bro. Alright, anyway.
Excuse me?
If only they could come up with an oceanic theme skin, that'd be great. All right,
we have an Australian theme skin.
Well, not an oceanic server skin. Not an oceanic server skin yet. Anyway,
well, we have one of those already. It's Pool Party Ziggs. It's the one we all got for free when we moved here.
Yeah, but it wasn't made for us.
Yeah, well, it is the symbol of all of Oceania.
Fight me one-on-one.
Hey, Carrot, I hear some patch 1.5.
Yeah, I'm trying to move it on, but you keep holding me up. All right, let's talk patch 5.1. So this is actually a substantial patch. I don't think we're going to get through all of it this week. Sure. So what we might do is we might talk about... Well, we'll try and go through a lot of it. Let's talk first about overlapping CC. So this is something which I never knew about. I know about now, and I'm wishing I took a good advantage of back prior to 5.1. But we all missed out, so tough luck to us.
I noticed it, but I never really took note of it as a thing.
Okay. So basically what currently the situation is, when you have multiple CC being piled onto you, there's actually like a little cooldown in there that allows champions to use flash or to use escapes of some sort. So even it says...
Microseconds.
Yeah, it's like...
Microseconds.
Probably even smaller than that. So... basically, it says, in other words, even if you perfectly chain your disables, the enemy could occasionally flash away while stunned. Yeah. Now, in the new system, gone. Everybody, if you chain CC somebody, you cannot use Zonyas, you can't use flash, no troll pole. Oh my gosh, thank God. You know,
I think that was a bigger deal for the. I think that was a bigger deal for Zonyas in particular, because you start a fight and you all pile onto like that Twisted Fate or whatever. And then he hits the Zonya card, and then, hey, you just wasted all your overlapping CCs on him. And so the rest of the team just jumps in and clears you because you got no cooldowns up.
Yeah, I think Fizz is another real one because of the troll pole. You know, he can just basically sit there mashing the key, and eventually it'll if he gets it right, he can go invincible. So I mean, generally, I think it'll be interesting to see to what extent it hurts assassins, because. They're often the ones with these sorts of abilities where they want to try and escape, and they're close up. I don't have a problem with that because I really hate assassins as a support, but we'll find out.
Oh man, assassins are great.
Screw assassins. All right,
can't get enough of them. All right,
Corki Valkyrie. So his W now costs 50 more mana. I think this is a great change because.
Wait, what did you say? Who are we talking about now?
Corki's
Valkyrie's gone from 50 to 100 mana.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wait, we changed to talk about a champion? I think Victor was talking over you.
Okay.
So we're talking about Corki.
We're talking about Corki now. So Valkyrie now goes from 50 to 100 mana. Great change because it's a pain in the ass escape, and now it's going to punish him harder for when he's spamming his abilities. So yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the safest AD carry escape move because he traveled the longest distance. Probably short of Ezreal, who can pull Blitzcrank's fist off. This was probably the safest one in the game.
Yeah, that's
really painful.
Yeah, have you seen it? Blitzcrank grabs Ezreal, and if he times his arcane shift right, he can actually pull off Blitzcrank's arm, even if it hits him.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that is a thing. So Yeah, this is going to make Corki players want to hang on to their Valkyrie a bit more and be a lot less careless with it, because now it's, oh man, if I use this, I'm out of mana, because hell, I
Yeah.
only start with like 200.
Yeah.
I'm not actually sure that this was necessary. I feel the nerfs that he got last patch with the change to his missile speed really did hurt him a lot. Not enough to take him out of viability, but as I think I've said this 3 podcasts in a row, Corki is picked because he has great wave clear on an AD carry. Now, his phosphorus bomb, which is the ability he uses for wave clear, its missile speed got reduced, so it's still able to wave clear properly, but it's less effective for dueling. So Corki's viability dropped slightly with that particular change. Now, I've seen a lot more Corki losses as a direct result of that change, just in scrims and in VODs and stuff like that. So, like, those nerfs did take effect. And now, even with that ability nerf, now they've increased the mana on Valkyrie, so now it's even more, it's like, on top of the added risk that you had for picking him last patch, you have additional risk to picking Corki. So this might be one of those, oh god, just get him away. He might still stay around because his abilities are still good and he's not particularly mana intensive in the laning phase or anything like that, but I don't feel he needed it. I really do, like,
If it's too heavy-handed, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of power added somewhere else. Maybe
Hopefully
in the
to his
form of his
ultimate.
Gatling gun or his ultimate. So yeah, so it makes sense.
As I've said previously, Nidalee spears do more damage than Corki's massive rockets.
Yes.
Yeah, so that they probably add power somewhere else if this is too heavy-handed. But there's still plenty of time to buff him or Trinity Force for Worlds.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're just nerfing Corki so they can buff him around.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so. Rocket Jump is probably the most. It's probably a similar length of distance getting away, but it costs
This
60
one's
mana.
quicker.
Corki's still longer, and Corki doesn't have that like half a
That
second
startup
delay
time.
before the actual jump. So
Yep.
in terms of defensive abilities, I would put Valkyrie next to Ezreal before I'd put it next to Tristana.
Oh, okay.
Because just because of that instant reaction time that you get from Ezreal and Valkyrie.
Yes.
Of was it Essence Flux? Essence Shift?
Arcane Shift.
Arcane Shift, thank you. My brain.
Arcane Shift, Valkyrie, and Rocket Jump are the ones we're
That's
talking
it.
about.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. That's about enough for Corki, I'd say.
Yeah. No, I mean, Arcane Shift is 90 mana, so that gives you a pretty reasonable point of comparison.
This has the longest cooldown, I'm pretty sure, but all right, let's move on.
Yeah, it does. Elise. So there's something to make Steve happy in this patch note. So Elise's maximum damage versus bonus damage versus monsters with her Q goes from 50 at rank 1 to 75, and basically is 25 across the board. So, you know, a little bit more damage for Elise in the jungle.
It's really gonna hit. It's really gonna help her come back after like her string of nerfs. Like, she's still rarely picked. She still is picked, but very rarely, and it's generally when Jarvan, Lee Sin, and Rek'Sai are banned or the opponent like picked it or whatever. So hopefully that this speeds up her early jungle enough that she's picked up again. Because personally, I would love to start playing her again. I would love that.
Yeah, and she doesn't take a lot of damage in the jungle, so now that she can clear a bit quicker and like before her little spiderlings die and whatever, you know, she can do some pretty early ganks as well. Now I'm pretty sure she's one of the handful that can still do that before they have to go back for their big jungle item. So you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of her, because I reckon that's good as.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of her power comes from the kit, not so much the numbers. So now that she's had a little tweak up to help her clear a bit better, I think this is going to help her quite a bit.
And this is a good change in the sense that it's keeping lane Elise kind of out of the way, because that's one of her ongoing issues, is that, you know, when she had really good numbers, she was really painful in lane and just does a lot of, you know, point and click damage that just wrecks people because it was max health damage and stuff like that. So, you know, this is the sort of thing which is allowed her to get better in the jungle, which is probably more healthy for the for her as a champion overall. All right, so Evelyn, she has had her mana regeneration while stealth doubled. So from 1% max.
I'd like to take note really quickly that although you say doubled, the change is actually 1% maximum mana to 2% missing mana per second. There is a difference there.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, I didn't notice the maximum mana. Yes, so
it's from
1% maximum to 2% missing, which basically gives her a chalice. I mean, that's what chalice does. Which I think it's probably better in the jungle to have missing mana because you're going to be like you kind of want to boost it a lot at the lower end rather than having sort of a consistent across the board, if that makes sense. And her E now procs on hit effects, which is actually not too bad because you think it's a double hit. It's 2 automatic hits, and we've seen what with what's his name, Warwick, what you can do with on hit effects with the Skirmisher Saber or whatever it is.
Good as Twisted Fate Jungle, baby. Yeah. She's back. Trinity Force. Tons of dummies. Woo!
I need to find what's the item called. I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, with the Skirmisher Saber, I think it is.
Skirmisher Saber with Devourer.
Yeah.
Or another
6 seconds. Yeah. So so take true damage on basic attacks. Well, if that procs on hit effects, that should presumably proc the Skirmisher Saber, which would be pretty good for ganking. As opposed to, yeah.
Yeah, she's a very intimidating champion, really hard to balance. Like, I think she's one of those champions, like, Amumu's generally considered a really good one that carries out of the low levels because no one knows how to deal with them. And Evelyn's significantly harder to play than Amumu, but she's one of those ones that can carry a lot harder than Amumu just because no one knows where she is during the game. So it's really scary when she's in viability because getting ganked by her is a real pain in the ass because warding doesn't do a whole lot if you're a laner. Someone else talk,
all right,
please.
Sorry, I was just adding something to the document before I forgot.
How things end up in the document without me realizing it?
Yeah.
Like you'll go, and next on the topic is this, and I'm like, what? I don't know anything about this.
Finally we're starting to see some nerfs for Nah. So his boomerang cooldown refund on catching his Qs gone from 60% to 45%. So it means less boomerang, but that increases as he upgrades his ultimate. So that's...
And thematically, this doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. But then, rarely none of these things ever do, really. I think this is what I love about this change is that it actually kind of hits him where he needs to be hit, which is his early game, and kind of allows him to keep doing what he needs to be doing in the later game.
He has too much team fight power for the amount of lane power he has. That is a real big issue with Nah.
Yeah.
And I guess that just comes with being a ranged, semi-ranged top laner, I want to say. That he's just he's strong in lane because he can abuse like some of the bruisery types. But just like being able to stun an entire team under tower for 3 seconds and then walk away because he's so goddamn tanky. That's a bit of an issue.
I mean, I think now that I think about it, his chasing power is still probably a bit too much because once he comes out of Mega Nah, you just can't escape him because he hits you with the boomerang, he catches it, refunds the cooldown, hits you again, auto attack, hits you with the boomerang, he gets hyper, he's now chasing you faster, and it basically it's probably a bit too much. Even still. I don't know. What do you reckon, Steve? You reckon that?
He's still the strongest champion in the game, even with this nerf.
I agree.
Yeah, this, cooldown refund on catch from 60% to 45% is nothing. That is still, he's still going to be able to do everything he was doing before. There might be, I haven't actually run the math on that, but what's the seconds here? What's the actual Victor? Yeah, bring up the stats. Bring up actual...
Okay, so it's the cooldown is 20 seconds rank 1 to 10 seconds at rank 5.
Okay, so
so 20 seconds, so to 45 means it's 10 second, reduces the cooldown. If you catch it immediately as you throw it, it's just like an 8 second refund.
3 seconds difference, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
True.
Nothing.
That is nothing.
Yeah, like, well, in the context of a team fight, 3 seconds is huge. But we're not talking about like this is a boomerang throw. That's not a like it's not a team fighting ability. It's a
piece of
cleanup
harass in
ability.
lane.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's a
And
piece
it's
of harass in lane.
yeah, and it's also like it's used for chasing, it's used for kiting, and it'll still do all of those things if like he's just yeah like I don't think it's gonna affect his ability to be as ridiculous as he is, even the slightest.
Wow, rank 1 boomerang only does 5 damage. Must be a typo. No, it's not. That's crazy. It's pretty pathetic. Anyway, I mean, really, it's his hyper that's probably the more annoying thing because it's max health damage.
Yeah, and you can apply it to. It's not like Vayne, where it's like if you hit the wrong target, then oh shit, it's reset again. No, it's always on.
It's on,
you get
yeah.
multiple targets with it.
It's 6, 8, 10, 12, 14%
Yeah,
max health damage. That's a lot.
No internal cooldown. You can just keep reapplying it, and
Yeah.
you will keep reapplying it because it's constantly giving you movement speed, and your ultimate will give you more movement speed on it, and you're throwing boomerangs to constantly slow them down, and then you're jumping over their head to apply another stack of it.
Yeah.
So
like eventually they're gonna have to they'll have to deal with that because if they're gonna keep the CC, you need to get rid of the max health damage. At least on auto, I don't know, like somehow negate it.
well,
or something.
the CC is in his Mega Gnar form. He doesn't have max health damage in Mega Gnar, I'm pretty sure.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like he either needs to have like crazy good CC and good chasing, or he needs to be able to do damage. Like he can't have him do both. While like the max health damage allows him to build tanky. That's why Blade of the Ruin King is so good on him, or something that increases his attack speed is good on him because he just keeps proccing max health damage, which is really the most effective type of damage in the game, especially late game. So 14% max health damage against anybody every, you're doing that every 2 or 3 seconds. Like, that's just crazy. Yeah, so either they need to reduce the CC or they need to reduce the max health damage.
Yeah, I think his lane power needs to go down a lot. Because I don't think he should be as abusive in lane as he is in a team fight. Because then he just does it all, doesn't he?
All right.
Hecarim.
So Hecarim. Oh, I just closed the tab that I had all the patch notes. Somebody else want to read the patch note for Hecarim?
So Q is now ridiculously overpowered. W increase overpoweredness by 4%.
Okay,
that is pretty much it. Like,
the mana. Okay, so the mana cost on his Q has been reduced by 4 at level 1. So it's not
considering it's a spammable ability. Across 2 casts, 4 is 8. Across another cast, 8 becomes 12. So for a spammable ability that you're using over and over again, over the long run, 4 is a lot. But if it's something that you're only using once every 12 seconds, 4 is nothing. But this is a spammable ability, so over the long run, you're saving a lot of mana. It's the same.
Yeah, over the long run.
It's the same as Doran's shield, the way that works. You're like, 8, what's 8? Oh, well, you get hit a number of times, 8 becomes 20-something, or 30-something.
Yeah, of course.
There's something I just want to point out about the patch notes in particular, is that next stop on our 2015 jungle love train is none other than the Horse Lord himself, Hecarim. Jungle's difficulty, blah, blah, blah. He's going to be played in top lane.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like...
He's already getting played in top lane. Have you seen Darius's results? Darius was playing this man effectively without these changes.
And Kane with him in the mid.
Motion lol, a streamer who's in Diamond something was getting massive results playing Hecarim. 2 patches, 2 patches before this, 3 patches before this, before the last Hecarim buff.
I have seen Hecarim just do some nasty stuff in top lane, and now he can spam his Q more often, so he can trade more often, and he's going to get an additional, with 1 point in his W, he's going to get an extra 30 health every time he casts that spell.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in the jungle...
I think that's a much bigger change.
Yeah, like, if you're in the jungle, like, that's a nice amount of health, and you probably won't even cap out because there's only, at most, 4 minions in your AoE at any particular one time.
Yeah.
But in lane, when when the enemy team has just pushed you to your tower, you can just, whoop, whatever. Got all my health back, I've got, like, I can queue for days, who cares? Like... if touching him in the jungle is what they wanted to do, I don't think they've succeeded. I think they're changing the top lane with this change.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I guess if they were to separate the minions from the monsters, like that would be the kind of the ultimate thing of allowing them to buff him in the jungle without making him overpowered in mid. Or I mean, mid's probably where
or just got rid of the word minion completely. If it only worked on minions and champions. Yeah, like
if this becomes too abusive, I'd take the whole minion healing out of it, and that's like you are no longer allowed to be in top lane or mid lane. You're no longer allowed there. You are a jungler. Stay there.
And they've done that previously with certain champions. Yeah. But yeah,
I hate the idea of a lane Hecarim, by the way, because I feel like that kills his whole map mobility thing where he's running around really fast and he's got really strong ganks where he just runs in over the wards or whatever.
I mean, it was Keaton from Curse Academy, former OCE player, that actually ran Hecarim mid.
Apparently that's happened in Korea a bit as well, or had happened in Korea a bit.
Yeah, like... But in the Keen game, he was using that mobility for roaming ganks. Now, they didn't have a lot of success in that game in particular, but the idea is sound, like using that roaming potential. Yeah.
He's a champion that benefits from movement.
And I just want to explain a little bit of top lane dynamics. Now, everyone knows I'm not a top laner myself, but I study this stuff a lot. Now, at the moment, if you're in a competitive game, everyone in top lane is running teleport. Everyone, with almost no exception, they're running teleport. And the idea is that you force the enemy back to lane and then you push them to the tower as hard as you can to force them to use their teleport so that they don't get under-leveled. Then the idea is...
You have better control over bot lane and dragon.
Exactly. You have the teleport advantage for dragon control, for ganks, for all that stuff that happens where the early game really counts. Now... Hecarim's movement speed, like that's his whole thing. Like he scales with movement speed. Not only does he have like very strong laning presence, and even more so with these patch changes, but his movement speed allows him to get back to lane without losing all that much golden experience, without having to blow teleport. That is huge. Like that is something that cannot be underestimated. Like his first build, like in the games that I've seen him, is like. Speed 2 boots and then home guard. Like that's like his early game path. Whereas everyone else is getting brown boots. This is Hecarim. It's a different. It's like Sion. Like you can't treat Sion like other champions because no one else can die to red buff at level 1 and get back to lane with an advantage. Like no one else can do that. You have to think of it differently. And I don't think we'll see Hecarim in the jungle at all.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
No, maybe it's solo queue, of course. I'm talking professional.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess
if we see him, that is.
I just want to point out, just in terms of the mana change on the queue, like at level 1, it gives him an extra 2 casts. At level 18, this is just base mana. There's obviously nothing else. Base mana, it's 8 casts. So that's not heaps. You know,
but it
could be worse. I think it's the W that makes the big difference.
Talking about just his mana bar and not taking into consideration how every champion in the game has now got increased mana regen throughout all levels.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just doing base. Yeah, obviously.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
If you had 0 mana regen, it'd be an extra 2 cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, yes. I was going to say, I guess that brings in opportunity cost. So, like, it gives him more opportunities to use his other abilities. Anyway, enough with Hecarim. Janna, I'm excited about this change. Janna, his Q, the width of a missile on a Q, Howling Gale is reduced by 30 whatever pixels or whatever they use. I love this change because Tornado is really annoyingly wide, and it really does have a problem of looking a lot narrower than it actually is.
Yeah. I still think she'll be the premier support. I don't think this nerf is going to be... No. Like, it might be enough to sway a team fight. It might be enough to, it might... When you're running away or trying to engage, that the missile width might make the difference between a death or a kill. But in terms of her position as, like, number 1 pick in professional play, I think she's just going to stay on top.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she's more punishing towards less skilled players now.
Yeah, this is an ARAM nerf to me. Because on ARAM, it is really difficult to see where the Howling Gale is. And now that it's smaller, I can dodge it better in ARAMs, because ARAM has a different camera set up to Summoner's Rift, the way the angle and how far back it is. It's really difficult to see Howling Gale, so ARAM nerf.
That is an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up.
All right. Well, Jace, his W, the attack damage per attack on his W in, I guess he is in cannon form. Yes, in cannon form. Is reduced by it's at its highest level. So 110%. It goes from 130 total attack damage to 110. Okay.
Yeah, this one, the main difference I see here, maybe a little bit less strength in lane between 3 and 6. Other than that, I see this as he's dealing less damage to towers now, because he was a really strong tower taker before. He's still got his strong poke and everything there. He's still going to acceleration gate Q your face off, and he's still going to siege with that really hard. Except now he's dealing less damage to towers.
Yeah,
because that was
that means that a tower might survive the second hit and have to take the third before it's destroyed.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's huge. I mean, it is a change, and total attack damage. We should point out that includes all his base, because often these things are on like bonus attack damage. This is total attack damage, so that is. I guess that probably is quite sizable in terms of the overall damage, but doesn't change his pokiness, and that's what makes him so powerful.
Well, if you consider how games are currently being played out, with the dragon buff giving the percentile increase with one dragon, and bonus attack damage coming from just the Baron buff, like everybody seems to be really focused on these particular objectives. He's one of the best people at controlling those objectives, and he benefits a ton. Because of previously it's 130% of his total attack damage, now 110% at total. Towers are already falling down whenever Jace walks even remotely close to them. He's still zoning people off. He's still going to be able to insta kill wards with this. He's still going to be able to siege towers with this. It's going to be it's
like 20. His base, just in terms of his base attack damage, it's like 22 damage at level 18. So it's not.
And when you consider how much attack damage Jace gets, he gets crazy amounts. You'll start off with a Manamune. He'll go into Last Whisper almost definitely. He'll sometimes get a Bloodthirster or a Ghostblade for additional attack damage and penetration. He very rarely needs to buy defensive items just due to his high mobility and his ability to flip and kill people, he's really, I can stay as far back as I want, Xerath style, blowing people away. He doesn't need defensive items if he's got a well-coordinated team. So he was able to completely stack damage, and now he's just going to get a little bit less gold efficiency for everything that he was already doing anyway.
Yeah. And now he's even worse at dueling my Tarek.
Yeah. And I guess it's also worth pointing out that the amount of sources of damage to towers from outside of items is ridiculous. So Baron, dragons, that's in some ways that's more important than 20 damage base off the thing. All right, let's move on to Callista. We got about another 5 minutes, so let's try and get through we'll see if we can get through the champion changes. Actually, probably not. We'll get through some of the champion changes.
Well, there's a ton of them.
Yeah, maybe not.
Just look at Renekton.
Yeah.
That's got to be our Renekton discussion. Look at Renekton. We've got 12 champions left or something like that. We could probably touch. I think we should touch on Nautilus at least.
Yeah, okay. Let's touch on. I mean, Callista's got a small change. She can now
I don't think this is that important.
No, it's they're slowly working on it, which is good. I mean, I think the thing worth mentioning about Callista is that
changing targets is nice.
Yeah, changing targets is nice. The damage she gets in combination with her support on a W, that's nice. I think the main thing is they're probably going slowly because Callista could be completely ridiculously OP if they buff her too quickly. Because just of how mobile she is, she is by far the most mobile champion they've ever made. Completely trumps even Lucian. So they really need to be careful. Yeah, they need to be really super careful about how they buff her, because if they make her too good, she's just gonna.
The one thing I'll say about Callista's mobility is that she's only got mobility while in combat.
Which is
except for a Q.
Where you want her.
Yeah, yeah. Because like, look at Rek'Sai's ultimate. Have you like, if you've watched Rek'Sai's in professional games, I think I've seen it used for ganks like 4 times.
Yeah.
And every other time, it's I can't be bothered walking to my red buff.
Yeah,
or,
that's it.
like,
Just because it's
like,
it's I wouldn't say it's useless.
Out of combat movement is
Yeah.
much less valuable.
Yeah. It's not useless, but it's pretty close to useless.
Well, it's very, very, very situational. Not only do you need, like, we're getting sidetracked here, but I don't care. Yeah. With Rek'Sai, if you take the time to set up your tunnels in such a way that you can put them to effective use, and someone walks along and stands on them for a second.
That's it. And they're spotted on the map as well. Like, so once they're spotted for good. And they're big and obvious.
There are key spots I know with the tunnels. Like, if you go into one of the top bushes and you tunnel towards off the map, the tunnel will just put a second one on top of itself, and you can contain it in one of the top bushes just like that. There are tricky spots, but other than that, those fucking things last 2 minutes. Less than 2 minutes, let's be honest here. All right. So Nautilus had changes to his shield. So
yes!
Previously, Nautilus got a huge amount. He had this big shield, but it was all base stuff, and the rest of it he got scaled from his bonus HP, which is whatever he built from items. So he picks up a Randuin's Omen. Yeah, you get a little bit more HP on your shield. Now they have absolutely kicked his base shield into the dirt. It's gone from a max rank 300 to 85. That's a huge amount gone down. But now it scales from his total HP, so all his base HP is added as well, and all this and everything he builds. That's all contained into what he now gets from his shield, starting at 7, going up to 17%.
17% of maximum health.
Well, I mean,
I saw a little bit of math on this. Watching Ponce, he's a guy who covers a lot of PvE stuff, and he looked at the math for this. At level 1, this is a little bit higher. Through a large portion, particularly level 2 to level, I want to say 12 or something, it's a little bit lower than what he used to have.
Mid-game-ish, yeah.
Mid-game-ish, it's a little bit lower, and then late game, it starts to be big again.
Yeah. I mean, like the shield, so 17% of his maximum health at level 18 is 346. Like, that's a pretty good shield. And that's not included, so that would be, what, plus 85. So that's, a shield of 400. I mean, what the shield for Lockett is like 400. And then on top of that, you've got all the rest of it that comes through his items. So that's actually, it's pretty down kick-ass. I'm pretty happy about it.
I don't know how other Nautilus leveled, but I typically leveled my shield first because it gave me a bit of extra, because it has extra damage behind it on it as well.
Yeah.
It was necessary. I would max that in the jungle. I'm assuming we're not playing lane Nautilus unless you're me, because I did it once. But
I know a few people that lane Nautilus, despite my advice.
I feel like this is going to be noticeable not until very late stages of the game. If you're an experienced Nautilus player, if you've played the odd couple Nautilus games here or there, you probably won't notice this that much. I don't think.
Sort of. I wanna bring attention to just one thing before Carrot says we've run out of time, and that is the Zurot portal. Now the Zurot portal,
the ZZ top portal.
The ZZ Rot portal or top portal as
ZZ top portal. You got to get it right.
The thing that sports the fucking void gate. Jesus Christ!
Exactly. I just want to point out that this item it costs 2,800 gold, so not that inexpensive, especially considering it gives you 50 armor, 50 magic resistance, and then 100% base health.
Regeneration.
Base health regeneration, sorry.
Because 100% base health would be freaky awesome.
Yeah, that's right. You could probably secure this as your only defensive item on top of whatever boot choice you want to go with, and then just stack Warmogs. That's... I mean, I'm not recommending this is the way to go, but as we've said in many podcasts in the past, is you want defensive items. Like, you don't just buy a frozen heart; you need HP to support that armor. But with this giving both resistances and then the ability to stack health with only taking up 2 item slots, that's interesting when we consider the Nautilus change. Like, because not only has this item has opened up a lot of opportunities for tanks, for the price tag and the defensive stats and the regeneration that it offers,
and the movement worth pointing out.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention that. Builds up to 30% movement speed over 2 seconds when near a void gate, and the void gate would
and turrets
and towers. Yeah. And Nautilus is typically a good tower diver, so that movement speed is going to be awesome for Nautilus.
Yeah, and for a big guy, he's quite mobile. Like he's got that big, the anchor throw and drags himself through.
It pulls him to terrain and gets half its cooldown shaken off.
And again, I'm not necessarily saying that the ZZ Top Portal, as you're calling it, that item is specifically a Nautilus item, or even that it will be good on him. But just the introduction of those defensive stats for that price tag may change the way that we look at tank builds. So that's all I wanted to bring up, is that we can't just look at, he's got a shield change that's not going to do much, or that's going to do this much, because the entire formula may change due to the introduction to this item.
So I just want to. I was going to show. Oh, I can't get it to work. I wanted to look at a list of items to see where it is comparatively to other things, but
statistical efficiency wise.
Yeah.
No, just in terms of what else is 2800. I mean, Morella Narcos now. I think about that.
How much is Guardian Angel, which gives both stats?
Well, Guardian Angel got changed as well, so that might be tougher than you think for the comparison. Guardian Angel is exactly 2,800 gold.
Yeah. So when we think about that, how powerful that is, or how, yeah. So I mean, I guess that's probably
Riot value this item as highly as they do the item that brings you back to life.
Yep.
That's how strong.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it. And well, if you think about it, a tank really doesn't get Guardian Angel because a tank is not likely to die, and if he does, it means he's done his job. So Guardian Angel not generally picked up unless you're really strapped for item slots. That's a really very 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 strange. The only tank I can think of that would get it would be Cho'Gath, because he gets punished when he dies. But even with his changes recently, whether or not that'd be worth it.
Yeah,
but
and this will also if Nautilus is building Zero Portal, this gives Nautilus sieging power, because now he has the sieging item in his kit.
Yeah.
Well, you know who I really want to see this on? Really want to see this on Shen. Really.
Yeah, it would be gnarly on Shen.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really he split pushes, but he doesn't exactly push towers quickly. This will help him push towers real quick.
Even if you've got yourself a Wit's End and a Sunfire Cape, which is your defensive stat kind of trifecta, that's a lot of money to accomplish just a push. Which is exactly what this item does. So sorry to jump ahead in the patch notes. I just really wanted to cover that before we closed out.
I just like to say ZZ Top because I like that band. Well, like a couple of their songs anyway. Even though it's probably against copyright, I'm gonna play what you call it, Lagrange. Oh, I love that song, so good. Anyway, any excuse to play Lagrange is a good excuse to play. Is a good excuse for me. All right, well that is just. Shh, don't do it on Twitch because they'll mute us. All right, so we've been going for about an hour. So that will do us. We've got heaps more champion stuff to talk about. We've got Renekton changes, which I'm really excited about. Changes to Skarner. We've got base gates. We haven't even touched. The Baron changes. Smite changes. Heaps more to talk about next week. So one thing I want to mention before we finish tomorrow night, with the OzLoL podcast, Fantasy LCS, what's it called? Draft is happening. I think I might stream it just for the lols. So if you want to see us be silly and have fun, and hopefully position ourselves at least for me, to position myself to beat Sammy, because that's my goal for this time round. Since she was first place and I was second, that'll be tomorrow night at some stage. So
just funny because you were trailing for the first.
I know, it was so good, and gives us an excuse to give mystery skins online. So as well this year. All right. Well, that has been episode 71 of the OzLoL podcast. We'll be back again next week with more 5.1 discussion. Don't forget to check out the Challenger Series, the final. We're going to see Steve's team deliver on the weekend. See them get into the OPL. So make sure you check it out. Just follow us on Facebook or on Twitch. We always try and share the retweet all that stuff. So, and yeah, we'll be back again next week.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.